All right, so welcome to our second writing class. So remember the expectations. I want everyone to be sitting up. You are not laying down. Computer's not on the floor. Your face is visible. You need to be writing, so you need to make sure that you have a piece of paper, you have your draft, you have something to write with, okay? So today we will be continuing to draft our episode. Um, by conveying sequence and signal shifts from one time to another. So we are going to be thinking about how we can show our readers that we are moving from one time frame to another time frame by using a variety of transition words, phrases, and clauses. We are also going to have the chance to develop our craft by using at least two literary devices. And finally, we will have the chance to develop the setting of our story by using words and phrases, relevant details, and sensory language. So to begin, I am going to be using my example to help guide you in understanding how you can also do this for your drafts as well. So I'm going to share my screen with the PowerPoint, and as soon as you can see the PowerPoint, I'm going to ask that you show me a thumbs up to say, yes, I can see it. All right. Thumbs up, I see thumbs up. Excellent. So I need to think consciously about how I will accomplish this development of the setting naturally, right? I also need to think about how I can showcase to my readers that we are moving from one time frame to another time frame naturally. So now that in my story, the action has gone from the US to El Salvador, I need to also think about how my setting is now at the clinic and how I'm going to relay that to my readers. So we also need to think about where's Abigail staying and what is she surrounded by, right? So let's take a look at the PowerPoint. I have a slide up that showcases exactly the shifts of time and setting, okay? So there's two types of shifts. So you have time frame, which is something that can happen day to day, week to week. I see a hands up. Daniel, I'm gonna unmute you in a second. Yes, your question is?
Can I use the bathroom, please?
Yes, you may, but like I said in an earlier class, if you have a question about bathroom or water, you can put it into the chat and Ms. Marby will answer your question. So as I was saying, there's two types of shifts. You have time frame and you have setting, okay? So time frame is if you're talking about something that has happened one day to the next or a week later, etc., right? 3 years later, 4 years later, the next day, right? So examples of signal words and phrases are later that day, the next morning, the same night, 3 days later, a week later, sometime later, soon afterwards. And so when we're talking about setting shifts, right? We're talking about the differences of Abigail being within the clinic to the place where she's staying to the surrounding area, right? And examples of signal words or phrases that you could use to showcase the shift of setting is in the medical clinic, as I watched Wilton work as a doctor, back at my hotel, as I walked down the street in Chalatenango, right? So these things are important to include within your draft because you might be talking about something and then you in your head know that the next scene happened somewhere else, possibly at a later time. But if you don't include these words or phrases, your reader's not going to be able to follow along with you. And what's going to happen is we're going to be super confused and nothing else will make sense, right? So there are other ways to signal shifts. The most important thing that the author can be conscious of is how they can make it easy for the reader to understand, right? Because sometimes when we write, the shift is very clear in our heads as we picture the next phase of the action, but we need to remember to make that shift explicit to the reader. So read your work back, right? Pretend you don't know what the story is about. Pretend you are the reader. can you understand what's happening? Can you understand what the next time frame was or what the next place was, right? If you can't understand that, then your reader won't be able to. So now you are going to spend the next few minutes to continue drafting, being sure to convey sequence and signal shifts from one time frame or setting to another by using a variety of transition words, phrases, and clauses. So I am going to actually leave this up here, and I'm going to ask that for the next 8 minutes, we are silently working to include within our drafts, or if we have already written something, to keep writing, and when we are writing, to include these shifts. All right, that's only if there's a need for you to write about something that shows a shift in time and setting. But if you're continuously writing one scene and you're still in the same time and place, you don't need to be including these words, but just make sure that when you are talking about that time or setting, these phrases are included. Okay, so I'm gonna give 8 minutes for everyone to silently try to think about these shifts in their writing. Okay, so I should see all pencils to paper, just like Jessica. I see Bailey. Thank you for your urgency. Morris, is that a question? Morris, you should not be wearing a blanket over yourself. Think about it just like in school. We're professional, right? If you're cold, you may go get you may get a sweater. What's your question?
Okay, so does that mean we have to draft, and while we're drafting, we add in the shifts?
Yes, only if there is a reason for you to have a time or setting shift, right? There's no reason for you to include these phrases if you aren't having a shift. Chanel, yes, you may get a sweater. If you don't have any previous work, your sibling took your notebook, you left it at school, you need to try your best. If that means to start from scratch, then go ahead. That's better than just not doing anything, okay? Take about 7 more minutes. I see Bailey is writing. Carlo, I need to see your body. Yes, you may, Jessica, really quickly, thank you. So at the end of these 8 minutes, I'm gonna ask you to hold up your paper so I can see how far you've come along. Tanzo and Kaylin, Carlo, I need you to return back to your seat, have your attention to class. Daniel, you should be writing, thank you. Kaylin, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you writing? What's wrong with your video?
Every time I keep putting it, I keep like stopping and exiting out. Like I can't. I'll put it and then after like 2 seconds, it just go away.
Okay, so just make sure you're writing. Jalen, make sure you're sitting okay. You're not allowed to lay down. Take about 5 more minutes. Vicky, are your eyes open? Vicky.
Just keep working. Don't worry about where Miss Ramon went. Just keep working. Vicky, you writing? Give me the thumbs up if you're writing, because it don't look like you writing, girl. Huh, you writing? Vicky. Vicky, are you writing?
Let's take about 2 more minutes. Tanzel, I'm not sure why it's such a struggle for your laptop or phone to just be on a desk. It's been the second day now, and I've barely been able to see you at a desk working. So I'm gonna have to ask you to try your best in solving that. Your computer phone should not be on the floor. All right, can I have everyone put their draft up into the screen so I can see? All right, Chanel, waiting on you. Daniel, Jalen, Vicky. All right, Leilani, you may put it down. Jessica, you may put it down. Bailey, you may put it down. Chanel, you may put it down. Morris, bring that a little closer. All right, you may put that down. Jason, you may put that down. Jaylee, you may put that down. Tanzel, Kaylin, Carlo, Vicky, waiting on you. All right, excellent. Kaylin, Tanzel, and Vicky. Kaylin, what's going on?
I sent you a picture of what I did.
Got it. Excellent. I just got it. Vicky, Tanzel. Nothing. All right. So now that you've had a chance to work on your draft for 8 minutes, we're going to continue working on our drafts, but I'm going to show you the narrative techniques before we continue. So let's take a look. I'm going to share my screen. Once you see the PowerPoint, please give me a thumbs up. Excellent, I see thumbs ups. Okay, so we will have a chance to continue drafting, but let's take a quick look at the narrative techniques. So on the left, I have here element, right? And under these elements, I have setting, foreshadowing, characterization, theme, plot, conflict, point of view. So I'm going to leave this slide up here, and for the next 10 minutes, I want you to silently continue drafting, and I want you to think about how you can continue to add 2 more narrative techniques. Now, I'm going to ask everyone to have their fist up, right? Put 1 finger up if you would like me to leave this slide up, or put 2 fingers up if you would like me to leave this slide up. Okay, I see more 2s than 1, so I'm gonna have to leave this one up for the majority of the time, and then Leilani, for you, I will give the last 3 minutes, and I will leave this slide up, okay? So next 10 minutes, why don't we independently continue drafting. Think about adding 2 literary techniques. Think about adding those shifts in time and setting. So the expectations are that you are writing your pencils to your paper. Everyone is sitting up. No one is laying down. I should be able to see you. At the end of the 10 minutes, just like I did right now, I will ask everyone to put their drafts back up. If you need to send me a picture because your video does not work, that's totally fine. But remember, your expectations are that you are silently drafting. Your pencil is at your paper, okay? You have 10 minutes. Thank you, Jessica, for getting started urgently, and Chanel, and Jalen, Bailey, Carlo, what's going on? Right there? Carlo, you're gonna have to find a place to put your phone in an area where we can see you, right? Because then I have no idea what you're up to. I can't hear you and I can't see you. Hansel, is everything okay?
Yeah,
What's wrong with your video?
I don't know. Is there something wrong?
Can't see you.
I don't know.
He's just frozen, that's why.
Okay. That's fine. Just keep checking. Do you know what the task is, right? To write or draft for the next 10 minutes? Feeling everything's going okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Daniel, for getting started. Bailey, keep your head up, please. Take about 5 more minutes. If you have any questions, you can raise your hand with the button and I will be answering you as soon as I see it. Vicky, you should be sitting up, okay? I understand we might not have ideal places to put the phone, but at least sit up, okay? I don't think writing laying down is gonna be the best option here. Keep going, Bailey, you got this. So in 3 minutes, I'm gonna ask everyone to put their drafts in the camera again. Thank you, Tanzel, looking good. Take 2 more minutes. All right, I'm gonna put the other slide up, the one that discusses examples of signal words and phrases you can use to showcase shifts in time or setting, right? But if you're talking about one specific setting or one specific time, it's not necessary to include these things. But if you are shifting from a previous scene to the one you're discussing now, make sure you have already included those things, right? Maybe your second episode was something that happened a year ago. Are you telling us that your third episode is a year later, right? Chanel, is everything okay? Thumbs up if it's all good. All right, in 1 minute, I'm going to ask everyone to just put their drafts up again. Kaylin, you can send me a picture. Leilani, you can write for like another 30 seconds. All right, so I don't know, have everyone as close as you can so I can kind of read what you have written down. Jessica, a little bit closer. All right, okay. Jessica, Leilani, you can put it down. Chanel, move it back just a little. Excellent. Looking good, Chanel, put it down. Morris, a little closer. Awesome. Jason, let me see. All right, Tanzel, thank you. Bailey, looking good. Jalen, Vicky, Carlo. Jalen, excellent. Vicky. All right, looking good. All right, so Chanel, I'm gonna ask you to share an example of any shifts that you've had for your time frame or setting, just so we can have an example of how that could be incorporated into our writing.
Okay, an example I put was the following. I basically said the following 3 days, just like to show that there was a shift from the time to 3 days later.
Okay, excellent. And Vicky?
For me, I put a few years later because there's a from when my character's sister was born to like when she's kind of at the age where she understands a little bit, where she actually starts gaining memories, which is 4 years old, so she gets the phrase other than something happens. So that's
Excellent. Excellent. And Morris, what does it do for us as a reader or a listener to what your peers just said? What does that do for us in terms of understanding what's going on?
So what it does for us is that it allows us to like actually know what's like going on, because if you say, for example, a week later and then say that he went, like, for example, a week later Jack went to Britain, but if you remove that week later, like for, let's say the previous sentence was Jack was waiting for his plane ticket, and then all of a sudden Jack went to Britain, is gonna make your reader confused. So if you add like the signal words, that can like help the reader understand what's going on.
Excellent, excellent. Snaps, Morris. So let's take a last look at our PowerPoint, because our last step for today is to think about how we could enrich our setting, right? Because the setting that we establish to our readers, we want to make our readers feel like they are able to transport themselves into the place of action, right? So we can do that by adding specific words and phrases, relevant details, and sensory language. Okay, I'm going to repeat that one more time. We can make our reader feel like they are literally inside of our story by thinking about specific words and phrases, relevant details, and sensory language. So let's all take a look at my example on this PowerPoint, okay? I'm going to actually ask Leilani, can you read that for us?
It was particularly warm in the clinic today, and I wiped sweat from my brows as I worked. I looked out at the trees and flowers and wished I could spend some time outside. But just beyond the trees, I could see a very poorly constructed house and a little girl crying.
Excellent, thank you. So if I take a look at what I have so far right now, I want to revise this to really give the reader a better sense of what is exactly happening so that the reader could see it, like literally see it. So as I read through my description, right, I want you to make a mental sense of what the setting looks and feels like, and this is how I revised it. I wiped sweat from my brow as I worked in the clinic. The air was still and stagnant, and when I inhaled it, seemed as if there were a giant oven heating the air. Just beyond the open windows in our cinder block wall, there was a shady palm tree near a field of bright red hibiscus flowers. I could imagine their sweetness in the cool shade of that palm. Just beyond the palm, I could see a small, barefoot child, probably no more than 2 years old. She was crying as she swatted flies from her sweaty face. The walls of her dirt-floored hut were made of bed sheets strung across wood stilts, and a rough, corrugated metal room shielded her family from the rain. So I want you to think about what it is that made it easier for you to picture the second scene rather than the first, right? And I want you to think back to those specific strategies that I mentioned, right? So let's just think about it for 5 seconds, and then why don't I have Daniel, why don't you let me know what it is for you that helped you better picture this scene as opposed to the second one?
How the first one is better than the second one, you said?
The other way. How is the second one better able to give me a picture in my mind rather than the first?
It better shows you what's going on, because it tells you a lot more about the setting, and it literally describes everything that's around them, like a small barefoot child and a dirt floor hut, which we wouldn't see in the first one, which is a lot less.
Show me with your hands if you agree with Daniel, right? Excellent, right? So there's descriptive details in here. There's specific language. There's authentic details. Like Daniel mentioned, a small barefooted child, right? There's hibiscus, cinder block, corrugated metal, right? These are things that because we've decided to include such specific detail, it makes it easier for us in our minds to create this picture, okay? So we have a good 10 minutes left of class. I'm gonna ask for the next 9, we go back to working independently and thinking about how we could add these descriptive language, these sensory words, these phrases that help us better enrich the setting, right? We want our readers to feel like when they're reading our text that they're literally inside of what's happening, okay? So you have the next 9 minutes. The expectation is everyone is writing. I see pencil to paper, right? Tanzel, let's get started. Daniel, thank you for your urgency. Thank you, Chanel. I see Morris. Vicky, head up, please. Make sure you're sitting up, okay? Yes, Leilani, you may go to the bathroom. Thank you, Carlo. I see his pen moving. I see Tanzel's pencil moving. Take about 8 more minutes, and the last minute, I'm going to ask everyone to show me their work before they finish off the class. Remember, my example is still on the PowerPoint. If you need a guide to help you understand what I mean by descriptive language or specific details, you can look there. If you have any questions, just raise your hand. If you have a private question, you can chat it to me. I can respond. I see Jason has been continuously writing for the past 2 minutes. So has Jessica and Milani and Tanzel. Carlo and Jalen, if it's possible, please put yourselves in the frame. I see Carlo's pen is moving. Vicky, come on, let's go. You writing? You writing? Thumbs up? Everything good? Take about 5 more minutes. So your homework is to continue drafting. We will continue drafting tomorrow. So finish your drafting work for today for homework. Tag, everything okay over there? Yeah. Thumbs up if you're okay. Everything is good?
Yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, great. 3 more minutes. Haley, you're good? Morse, is it okay if I ask you to share what you've written for today or a portion of it? An example of a literary technique that you've included or a time frame shift? You can say yes or no. I'm asking if you want to volunteer. Yeah? Okay, great. So let's work on this for another 2 minutes. Then Morse will share, and then we'll all have the chance to show our work in the camera frame, and then we can close out. Jalen, you are so super close. One last minute. Do about 20 more seconds. All right, so why don't we put our pencils down? Let's track Morse. Let's get there in 5. I should see everyone give Morse your respect. You should be looking at Morse. Your pencil should be down. Excellent. Morse, when you feel like you're respected, you may share an example of a literary technique or a shift that you've written down.
Can I do an example of a literary technique and a
Yep.
shift?
Sure.
Okay. So for the shift, I put an basic, okay, I sighed. It was gonna take a long time to go all the way from New York all the way to Mississippi. And then 3 hours later. Yeah, that's the shift. But the literary device is a simile, which is the realization hit me like a poisonous arrow to the heart, because that showed how hurt that my character was, like, about the realization.
Oh, wow. That's really good, Morse. Excellent. Snap some Morse. All right, great. So why don't I have the rest of you just take your work that you've done today, put it to the frame. Let's get there in 3, 2. Carlo, Vicky, let's go. Daniel, excellent. You can put it down. Chanel, excellent. You can put it down. Leilani, looking good. You can put it down. Morse, Jessica, excellent. Bailey, Vicky, awesome. Jason, Jalen, Carlo, Tanzel, great. And Kaylin, you sent me yours. I just seen it. Excellent. So remember, your homework is to continue working on the drafting work for today. Think about these shifts that you can put for time and setting. Think about your techniques that you are using. Tomorrow we will continue drafting. Today we conveyed sequence and signal shifts from one time frame or setting to another by using a variety of transition words, phrases, and clauses. We also continue to develop our draft by adding examples of narrative techniques. And then finally, we thought about ways that we could enrich our setting by using words and phrases, relevant details, and sensory language. Tomorrow, we will continue thinking about We will think about relevant descriptive language, details that you can include to your draft to show character change or character growth. And we will continue thinking about these literary devices that we can add, okay? We're gonna be thinking about how we can provide a conclusion to our story that we're writing, our episode 3, by thinking about our narrator's experiences and the events that our narrator has gone through, okay? Thank you guys so much for your time today. Your next class is your enrichment class. So I believe today you have art. So does everyone have the new?
I just sent the link in the chat.
Excellent. All right. So I will see you guys tomorrow, but you guys should all, Jason, you have a cool question? Yes.
Okay.
What's your question?
That was it.
That was it? Okay, great. So you guys should all be heading